That seems to represent our experience of recollection. Make sense? Okay. So that gives us leverage. And so that's why we can look at these combinations of patterns, because it gives us very different pictures and insights into what's happening in our conscious experience. And it's all going to be represented in ones and zeros in MATLAB. So it's pretty crazy. We can go from our fuzzy cognition, these simple questions and answers on a computer screen, slice up the EEG physiology domain in different ways based upon that, and then see it represented by how we can manipulate matrices of ones and zeros of MATLAB, and then make really cool three-dimensional colored pictures of the brain. All right? Told you we were going to cover a lot in the class. Okay? That's really bringing things home together. So we do that. Now, a couple other things it allows us to do with this confidence scale. Right? Our middle confidence allows the subject to say, you know what, I don't remember, which is different than saying, I think it's from source 1 and have it being wrong, when it's actually from source 2. Okay, so you can get 3 pieces of info. You can get 5 pieces of information from the confidence scale, the source memory. Right? You can get times when the source memory is right, times when the source memory is wrong, time in the middle when there's no source memory at all, the 3. But you can also look at times when you get the source memory correct with high confidence, time when you get it correct with low confidence, and vice versa for when it's wrong. It's time when you're really wrong with high confidence. Right? It happens all the best of us every now and then. Sometimes we're really wrong, but it's with low confidence. So we can slice the pie in all these different ways. So that's a little introduction to what we're going to call here. These are our event codes. And you guys remember when we looked at the EEG, we saw that vertical line with all of our event codes in it. That's what they are. That's what they mean. And that's why they're really important and really useful for our purposes. Make sense? Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
For the source memory confidence, is it like 2 questions? Like first you say like it's from source 1 or source 2?
It looks exactly like this on the screen.
Yeah, but the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I thought it was how well do you remember it, and 1 you don't remember at all.
That's for item memory.
Okay. So for source memory, it's 1 would mean that it's from source 1.
Yeah. So well, let's just say here this could be from the animacy condition, and this could be from the man-made condition. Make sense? Awesome. All right, let's do some data work. Let's see what we can do here. So everybody should have had this data cooked up and downloaded and all that kind of good stuff. I'm going to set my path just like we've talked about setting. Desktop, EEG. And we set our directory as well. Okay, so I just select folder there, and I have my little shortcut up here for EEG Lab on this button, so I just type that and it opens things up. So what I'd like to do today is we've talked about how we import data during the first day in class. Remember we had the BDF files? So you asked a question about that earlier before class started. What's a BDF file?
So each number would be a different person's data.
Each number of what?
So in the BDF folder, I think there's like 4 through 17. So
yeah.
Each individual number would be a different person. As far as what BDF stands for, I don't know. Brain data file?
It might be. I don't know either.
Oh, okay.
It's gobbledygook to me. It's just letters, and I care about the data. So that's our raw data. Now you guys remember the steps we did that first day on the data?
We resampled it.
We did resample it. What do we do beforehand? Let's work our way through one subject. Okay, we'll go through this again. Okay, so let's. What's that? Come again?
We filtered it.
We did filter it. So we did a lot of things. Let's take a look at what some of that was. Okay, so why don't we start? And what I'm going to do is, let's go to File, Import Data. We will do our plugins up here, and we can do from Biosemi BDF file. Okay, we snag that. And it's going to ask us, so let's take one of our BDF files here. Let's start with 4. So everybody should have 4. Okay, and then we select that, and it starts to think. It's going to ask us a question as it starts to import it about our reference channels. What's a reference? I'm sorry? Yes, it's our electrical measurements to compare to. So I was teaching a class last night in behavioral neuroscience about action potentials. Teaching everybody all the good stuff of our EPSPs and IPSPs. When you record from a neuron, it's always, there's a reference electrode out in the extracellular bath, right? Same idea when we record from the scalp, we have an electrode somewhere else to compare to. And you're right, our numbers were 33 and 34, and they represent our numbers for the mastoids. Yes, question?
Which file are we opening with the Biosafety Toolbox?
4.bdf. So what I'm typing in here on it says reference chans indices required for Biosemi, and we're going to type in 33 and 34. Everybody good? Are you okay back there? I want to see you working on the computer, so I want to make sure that it's like working and all that. You're good? Okay, cool. So I'm just going to hit OK, so you can see what I'm doing. And it's going to take a little while to think. Okay, so let's talk while the computer's thinking a little bit, because it always takes a little bit of time to import the BDF file, because it's a big file. All right, so 33 and 34, let's use this as an opportunity to talk about some electrode locations. Okay? Has anybody heard of the International 1020 system? Probably not. It's not that well known outside of nerdy EEG circles. So let's talk a little bit about what that is and what it means. First of all, is everybody importing that data? Are you all right, Val? Okay. Okay, so is it working? Okay, so 33 and 34 is our reference channels. Remember we said that we're recording from 32 channels? Are you guys ready to go? Yes? Okay. So we have 32 channels. We also mentioned that we're using 33 and 34 though. And then we added even more. So there's actually 40 channels. Let's take a look about what they are, okay? So here's our scalp. We're looking down from a bird's eye view, which means that we have a nose up here, a left ear, and a right ear. Okay? We have 32 channels of electrodes recording neural activity that we would like, and we have some other supplemental electrodes helping us sort out some of that signal from noise. Okay? Now the International 1020 system is it's a coordinate system, kind of like GPS or latitude, longitude, that allows us to identify what electrodes are what. Are you guys okay back there? Is it working?
You can take it out.
Yeah, Ariel, could you help them?
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's talk about the simplest way to divide the scalp, right? Because you want a way to tell other people where in the head is this electrode that you're reporting a finding from. You can divide it into quadrants. Okay? So you have our left hemisphere, and you have your right hemisphere. Okay? So we have hemispheres. And this is going to be left, and this is going to be right. Okay? We can also divide it this way, right? So we have basically anterior and posterior. Or frontal, and well, we'll just call this posterior for now.
They're opening BDF4, right?
Yes. Okay, so right off the bat we have this and this. Now this middle line here, our center line, we're going to call that our Z. Okay? Now we're going to use different coordinates here. Okay? So if you have, let's say, a site in the frontal cortex or the frontal scalp site there, okay? that might be called FZ, frontal, right on the center line. Likewise, you could have a posterior site or a parietal electrode. You guys remember our four lobes of the brain, right? Right. You got your cerebellum back here, your brain stem pons. You got your frontal cortex. All right. You got your occipital cortex, your temporal and parietal. Okay, everybody's on board there. So we have our frontal side. Let's say you have a parietal electrode here. Okay, that would also be PZ. We can come back here and look at one here that would be OZ for occipital. And right here you might have one that could be CZ because it's central. Okay, in our central line. So there's ways that we can categorize and classify these different areas of the scalp. All right, let's break it down in a little bit more specificity. Okay, actually we're going to call this one AF for anterior frontal. Okay, so you could have basically a set here, anterior frontal with frontal there, central, parietal, occipital. And of course, you're going to have like temporal one there. Make sense? Terrific. So let's look at it some more. If you move this way, we need a way to refer to those electrodes as you move laterally away from the midline in each direction. Okay? So let's start on this side, the parietal site. Okay? If you move one spot over here, instead of it being PZ, okay, let's say that it might be P1. Move a little bit more lateral, it's going to be P3. A little bit even more lateral, it might be P7. Okay, so that's coming all the way down. So this would be like, this is our PZ there, 1, 3, 7. See how it's mapping? All right, so what's this telling us is we basically have our odd numbers, 1, 3, there could be 5 there too. Okay. I usually, the electrode sites we use don't use 1. They just do 3 and 7. But conceptually, you could use more electrodes and put the numbers in there. Same thing here. This might be P4, P6. Yes? Right is even. Yeah. Pretty simple, right? So there's a method to the madness. Likewise, you can have central, okay, so you have like C3, say C5, C2 or C6, whatever, okay. You could also have central parietal, okay, CP5. It's intuitive when you think about it, and it's designed that way. And that's what I'm trying to share, is what is the intuitive organization of this? Because you're going to see plots from all these electrode sites, and it's going to be important to know what the heck is it referring to? Where in the head is this happening? Okay, now here we're going to have, you could have F3, say F5, that's not a tornado, that's an electrode site, and you can have anterior frontal as well. AF1, say AF3, etc. So when you move here, it's basically our odd numbers to the left, and we have our even numbers to the right. Okay? And that's as you move from the midline out laterally. And of course, there's also temporal electrodes. So you have, say, T7 and say T8, all the way out here. It's going to be like right there. Now, these electrodes tend to have a lot of EMG. Why? Clench on their jaw. Yeah, try it. You can feel these muscles right here clench. So you get a lot of high frequency noise. So we'll see that in those electrodes, and it makes sense. Okay? So this is kind of our organizational chart. And you can also do, later on we'll talk about topographic analyses, where you start to look at how patterns of electrical activity at the scalp can be differentially identified and statistically dissociable based on where they are. So you classify, say, like these 4 quadrants, and you could aggregate and average all those electrodes together, and you could then statistically compare activity in the right frontal hemisphere versus the left posterior hemisphere, and things like that. And you can start to see some spatial dissociability there. Okay, any questions on the 1020 system? All right, looks like our analysis is moving along. It's imported the data. It asked us, what do we want to do with this data set? Do we want to name it as BDF? I'm going to say let's not. Let's instead call it let's call it for re-ref. That way we know that it's been re-referenced, and we know that it's referenced to our mastoids. Now remember, we started the conversation talking about the mastoids being referred to as numbers 33 and 34. Okay, so our mastoids are basically back down here and back down here. And all of these electrodes constitute our 32. This would be, say, 33, 34. And of course, they all have a number, 1 through 32, that go along with them. But we see it shown with our labels instead. This is 33, 34. And if we looked at the face this way, right? We also talked about those ocular electrodes that we record as well. VEOG, vertical electrooculogram, which would be one that is there. We also have one that is lower, LEOG, under the eye. So they're going to be able to measure when those eyes blink. And we have one on the left and on the right. Okay, we're looking at it this way. Okay, and this is a horizontal electrooculogram, HEOG. So you have 33, 34, and then basically 35, 36, 37, 38, and there's another extra couple channels in there as well that makes our 38 or 40 channels. So when we say re-reference, it saves it, and now we can see that shown here. Yes, sir?
What if it's still hasn't shown up to save the file or anything?
It will.
Okay.
You might have just started a few moments before or after I. So, and again, it tells us how many channels we have. We have 38. We've lost the other 2 of our re-reference ones. We have 1 epoch because it's 1 long piece of EEG. Our sampling rate is 1024. We're going to lower that because it makes for a much larger size sample than we need. It tells us our reference sites of the left mastoid and the right mastoid. Okay, so we have all that information. It's told to us. Let's first do what we talked about doing before. Let's type EEGH, and let's get an initial output of whatever the heck we did so we can keep track of it. All right, we highlight it, Control-C, copy. We hit New Script on the top left. That opens up our editor with Control-V or paste that information in. I like to press Enter after EEG Lab and separate this a little bit. Okay, on the right-hand side, we can do a percentage sign, which is commented out, which tells us, allows us to type in a note. So I'm going to type a note into myself that says import raw BDF file and re-reference to the average of the mastoids. That way I don't forget what the heck I did with that command. And so we can look and see this purple thing here in parentheses. That's our directory here. And then this is our file. And then it's asked us for our reference ones, and we fill that in. So that's what we did. Okay. If we come back to our GUI in blue, okay, what we did next was we downsampled, or excuse me, no, yes. Get where? Top left. There. So, new script. Okay, so paste that in. We're going to go Tools, and we went to, for our filtering, we did under EEG, or excuse me, under ERP Lab menu, we went to Filter and Frequency Tools, said filters for EEG data, and it will bring up a little option for us. Okay. Now,
don't have the bio site.
you do.
EEG was popular first.
Just type EEG. Yes. So that's what I said a moment ago. You got to go to ERP Lab. Okay. Okay, so here we are on our GUI. This is what we did the first day in class. Okay. And we want a high pass filter. What does high pass filter mean and do?
Block out the low frequencies.
Block out the really, really low frequencies. Why the heck do we want to do that? What's the utility and the usefulness of doing that?
For those drifts you talked about.
Yeah, so it gets rid of those really slow wave drifts, which is another form of artifact. Okay, so we're going to do a high pass filter. So you keep that clicked on like the little yellow square box on high pass. We're going to keep it at 0.1 hertz. Okay, that keeps it really slow, and we're just going to hit apply. So pretty much you just open the GUI and hit apply. Okay, and it'll think for a minute. It'll crunch it out, and it'll ask us, what do you want to do with the new data set? Okay, it saves our name here, forward reference, and then gives underscore for filter. Okay, we're going to do that. We're going to highlight this. We're going to check this box, and we're just going to paste this name back in there. So now we're going to save it so that if we need to come back to it, we don't have to go through these other steps to get there. Okay, so make sure you do that. I'm going to highlight this, Control C to copy, check that box, come in here, Control V to paste, and I'm going to hit OK. Okay, so now what we can do is we can see that if we click on our data sets, we show our first one that we imported, the 4 re-reference that we named, and now we have a new data set we've created, our second one. That's our re-reference data set for subject number 4, and now it's been filtered, particularly with a high pass filter at 0.1 hertz. Okay, now let's say, make sure we get the output of that too. Let's type EEGH in again. Okay, and we can highlight these bottom 2 lines, which are the new lines that we've added. I copy that with Control C. I come back to our editor. I press Enter to give it a space. Control V to paste. Okay, and we can start to see everything that we're talking about, that we've been doing. All right. You guys good back there? Okay. So that's what we have. It says high pass filter there. It has our cutoff for that is 0.1 hertz shown there, and it's applied to the EEG in all 38 of our channels. Okay, and then here it shows us what we did to save it. Okay, so here we saved a new file, and then there, subject 4 saved is re-reference filter. Is it making sense? Okay. I know I'm going quick, but that's because we covered this in the first day. And so what we do next, what do we do next? Anybody remember?
We resample.
We resampled because it's at what, 10 something or another? 1024 hertz. So we come to our tools. We want to change the sampling rate. We're going to turn it to 256 and press OK. Same thing will happen. It'll think for a little bit, and then it'll pop up to say, what do you want to do with this new data set? We want to do the same thing. We're going to save it, copy that name, paste it in to save it in there too. Yes, ma'am? 256. So it's going to be resampled. You can highlight that. We check this box here. I paste this back in. Whoopsie, wrong paste. Highlight that. And I hit OK. Okay, so let's do EEGH again, and let's find out what the code looked like for that. We take our bottom 2 lines, copy, paste. Okay, so this is our command right here. Let me see if I can open this up for you. Okay, so this is our command that says resample the EEG to 256 hertz. The computer does it, it thinks, and then it asks us, do you want to save a new data set? New set, And we said, yes, save this new one. Okay? It asked us to give it a name. And here's the computer showing us the code to save that new name. Yes, ma'am?
If on your line of code, if it doesn't have that green portion, the percentage or whatever, if we don't have that, it's okay.
I wrote that. It's okay. That was my note. I would suggest that you write your own notes so that you know what each of the stuff means when you go back and study it.
I just asked because, like, on line 7, mine just generated the...
That just well, this is generated. That should look just like this, too. Yeah.
I was just making sure that the other one was manually written.
Yeah. I manually wrote that. You can write a Christmas list on these for all I care. Just make sure it's intuitive for you and that's going to be useful. Okay? So what do we do next? Yes, ma'am?
So you know how whenever we type in EEG, and there's not 2 lines, there's like a bunch of lines?
Yeah.
You only select the bottom 2 right now?
Well, because the other ones are the top ones that we've already grabbed. You can highlight them all if you want and paste them back in. It's going to look just like this, though.
Because mine has like a, I'm not sure if maybe you're not seeing it right.
Let's take a look.
Hey, when I type it in, it's like all of this.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I don't just
So
grab
you load it in, BioSig, we reference to 3334. Okay, basic filter, 0.1 hertz.
So it copies everything that we do. So
Yeah.
just, okay.
So that's what I said, this is just all the other stuff, it's just the bottom 2 is the most recent.
Okay.
That's all that.
Alright.
And
I'm so confused.
then I pasted in here and I add an enter beneath it,
Okay.
so it doesn't look like gobbledygook to us, and we can like digest it a little bit better.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay? Okay, so now let's take a look here. We have all this stuff. Now, we've got lots of people that we collect the data from, right? What did we have in our, how many subjects did we have in our BDF folder? Looks like we had desktop, BDF had 4 through 17. This is a lot of people to do by hand, isn't it? Yeah? Just clicking through over and over. All right? What I want to do is show you a shortcut. Okay?
Before you do that, I put a little bit.
Okay.
I don't get in the on the editor the reference, the resample. So I got to one before. And I guess it's because I didn't copy paste it, but I don't see it on my workspace.
Okay, let's take a quick look.
Okay.
So you can just highlight that whole thing and just repaste it over the other stuff if you want. All right, so who wants to do really boring stuff by hand forever their whole freaking life? All right, I'm going to show you some magic in MATLAB. Okay, this can make everything go a lot quicker. That's how we've set this stage. Okay, so you would have to do this for every single subject. Let's say subject 4 through 17, right? In this case, we already did 4. We'd have to do it for 5 through 17. So in MATLAB, this little colon here, that means through. Okay? So let's just type that in, 5 through 17. But what we need to do is we want the computer to do these commands for every one numbered 5 through 17. So in front of 5 and 17, let's tell that command. Let's just type the word for. Now notice something happened. This word became blue. That's because MATLAB is magic. And it's smart. The word for is a magical word for MATLAB. All right, it has a special meaning. And so it automatically basically is a function that will tell the computer to start what's called a loop. So we're going to loop through this every time for each subject number. Yeah, you see where we're going? That's very smart, isn't it? Yeah, whoever cooked this up knew what they were doing. Okay? So there's a method to this madness. Okay? Now the thing about this is when we typed 4, okay, beforehand there wasn't this little red line under the number 5. When we typed it, it added a red line under 5. Just kind of like a little bit of a predecessor for an error message. So, remember I said 4 is a magical word in MATLAB? It needs a partner. It's lonely. Okay? Remember we said we wanted to make a loop through here for each of these subject numbers? This opens up our loop. What we also want to do is close our loop. So all the way down here, type the word end. And that little red spot under the 5, actually it doesn't actually go away, but we'll get there. We will get there, believe me. So, all right, we'll type, actually, I don't know why that didn't for it. Now let's look at a couple things that we've got to do here, okay? One thing that we would have to do now is if we were to loop through here, we said for each subject that goes through this loop, do this stuff. Well, there's a couple problems here. So when you open up the 5th subject's data and it does exactly what you tell it to do, it's going to grab the 4th one. So somehow we need to come up with a way to change these numbers, but not with our hands, because that's the Stone Age, right? We want to use a nail gun, not a hammer. Okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to teach you a couple ways that we're going to change it to allow this to be changeable. Okay? And we'll do that every time that there's a 4. And, which is also in all of our files that we save our names as. Okay? So follow with me and do as I'm typing in here. What we're going to do is we are going to delete that 4. Press the space bar. Okay. Now, what this does, now we're going to press the apostrophe key. Okay. And that goofs everything up, but just do it with me. We're going to put another apostrophe key after this backslash. Okay. Now we're going to add a couple more things to our equation. At the end of BDF apostrophe, you can use the right bracket key. And at the beginning, before the apostrophe for our directory, for C, you're going to put the left bracket. See how everything looks happy again now? Okay, so we deleted our 4 that used to be here. We put a bracket here and a bracket here. Okay, so the bracket means concatenate. It means bring it all together. And what it needs to bring together, the computer doesn't know the subject number to bring in yet. We're going to show it. We need to tell it something that's always going to change. Let's just call it subj. Subject. Okay? So subj, short for subject. So now it says import our BDF file from this directory, our desktop EEG BDF folder. Take in the BDF file for each subject. Now, here's the catch. What the heck does subj mean? Whatever we want it to, which means we need to define it, don't we? Okay? Let's define subj. And to do that, you need to go underneath 5 through 17, and let's type the word subj. Let's give the computer a command and instruct it. Do you remember our first day we said C equals 5 and B equals 10, and we were able to add C plus B, and MATLAB automatically knew? So we're doing that now. Are you guys all right back there? You guys good? Okay. So, subject equals what? Here's another magic trick. Okay? I'm going to teach you a little command that's going to be useful here. So what we want to do is for each subject, we're going to take this number and we're going to turn it into a string. What do we mean by a string? Okay? What I'm talking about by string is when the computer reads this, it just reads it as letters. doesn't read as numbers, and they call letters and words strings of letters. So in MATLAB language, strings or letters are processed differently than numbers. Okay, just basically trust me on it. Okay, so we need to take this number and we need to turn it into a string. Okay, which is just a goofy command that we use. Okay, and so the way that it's done, it looks weird, but it actually makes a lot of sense. It's called num, N-U-M, the number 2, and then str for string. Okay? Now here's the thing, we're not done yet. Yes, ma'am?
What's after the subject?
The equal sign. Just like the first day in class when we said C equals 5, Z equals 100. We're just defining something. Okay? So, let's check it out. Something else. We're going to have, so for 5 through 17, what we're actually going to do is we're going to say for S equals 5 through 17. Notice a couple of magic things happen. Now we gave the computer some more information that it really likes. Okay? So remember I said we opened the for loop with for and it is closed with the word end? Look what happened. Now we have a line that connects it. Now the loop is closed. Okay, that's a really special good thing for us. We've also said that we've started with a variable now, the letter S, short for subject. So for every time there's this variable S, it loops through this number. So for each of our subjects, 5 through 17, the word subject is equal to this transformation that happens of our number 5 into the string of the letter 5. And we need to just finish that off with one thing here. So num2 string, parentheses, the letter S, and close parentheses. No, there should not be a space. This needs to be one continuous line of gobbledygook. Okay? So what we're doing is we're building the foundation for the computer to do our work for us. Right? So when the computer does our work, we can go off and grab a margarita. Right? Because the computer's doing our work for us. Right? That work, everybody wins. All right? But in order for us to enjoy that margarita, we need to know that the computer's not going to royally F it up by having a bunch of error messages and have it not work for us. So we need to do this stuff right and set the foundation right. That's what we're doing. Okay?
Dr. Jonathan?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you re-explain S again?
S is just a variable.
In this case, why are we using that?
Because it's short for subject number.
Oh, okay.
You could pick anything. You could pick Santa Claus or something. I mean, you have to define what it is, but yeah.
Why do certain things turn purple?
Because they're representing different variables. There's actually another name for it, but they're representing key things that MATLAB operates with. The colors are important for this, just like you noted. And so, yes.
So I was saying how that goes.
I'm sorry. It shows a possible error. It's a goofy thing MATLAB does. If it's orange, you can hover your mouse over it and it'll like give you a little like message. It's not important if it's orange. It's just kind of like a yellow sign or yellow light on a stop sign or a stop light. You know, stop and take a look, but keep going. Okay, so this is what we did here. We need to do this every time our number 4 is here, which means we need to get rid of the number 4. We need to add our brackets. We need to add our subj. So follow along with me, and I will try to show you how to make that happen. Okay? Let's see here, actually.
After the S in parentheses, is there a colon or semicolon?
After the what? Oh, that's a semicolon. Yeah. All right, so follow along with me here, guys. We're going to start by putting the left open bracket. Okay, then we're going to type the word in subj. Then we're going to delete the 4. We're going to close the bracket behind the re-ref. Bam. Job done for this line. Okay?
Is that a closed bracket after subj?
No, this is my, I think that's my mouse cursor.
Okay.
I should move that. There you go. Yes, ma'am. Yes. You come here. You delete the 4. You add an open bracket. You type the word subj. You close the bracket on the outside.
And then once it turns blue and then goes away, you're done?
Yeah. So MATLAB is always thinking in the background, sort of. And when you start screwing with this at first, it's going to go, ah! And it'll turn blue. It'll make all the stuff weird colors. But then once you like finish it off and close the bracket, it's like, oh, okay. Okay, everything's good. I thought you're... And you'll see it. You'll see it move around. Everybody good here? So let's do the same thing for when we want to save for re-referencing. Okay, same thing here. I'm going to put an open bracket, type in subj, space, delete the 4, and close the bracket outside of filt. You guys follow that, what I did here? Open bracket, typed in subj, put a space, deleted the 4, close the bracket. Remember, what the bracket is doing is telling MATLAB to read this as all one thing. Why do we want it to read it as one thing? Because that's what we told it to do. Remember, look down here. It's reading it as all one thing. And we just want it to be able to continue to read it, but changing our number every time. Yes, sir.
So why is it at the very top when we did the .pdf we put it in between 2 apostrophes? Or, yeah.
Because we needed an apostrophe. We needed to define this, and then we needed to define that.
Oh, okay.
That's why. So they're 2 separate things.
Okay.
Whenever we do this later on, does it have to be in specific order, or if we kind of memorize how to do it, and we just go in?
Do what in what order?
Kind of like, you know how we started off first putting 4 and then equals 5, 17.
Yeah, you can just write the script.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to do this in a way that's intuitive to understand. Because if I would have just started like that, it would have sound like I'm talking Greek and like crazy talk, and be like, what is he doing this for? Why? Oh my God. Yes, ma'am.
Like you got this one.
I'm sorry.
Put a space between the subject.
Do you want to hold it? Okay, so we got that down here. We're going to do it one more time here. Okay? So do that, and you can watch me if you need to. Hopefully you're becoming a pro, though. Open bracket, subj, space, delete the 4, close our bracket. Okay. It should look like this. Now here's a couple things that are important to say and to note about these things. Is there any such thing as a stupid computer? No. Computers do exactly what we tell them to do. The problem is that sometimes we tell them to do stupid things. And then of course, because the computer is like, screw you, I'm going to give you an error message, I can't figure this out. Right? It's kind of like, how many of you guys have worked for a bad boss? Right? I think most of us have. Right? There's like a series of movies about that now, right? Like, what's the name of them? Horrible Bosses, right? The guy from Arrested Development's in it or something, right? Right? So sometimes you have horrible bosses and they tell you to do stupid things. Right? And when you hear them ask you to do stupid things, you kind of like, you're like, huh? You want me to do what? That's what MATLAB does, and it'll give you an error message. So we want to make sure that we are giving it good information to work with. And if we give it really good information, really good instructions, just like a good boss, then the worker, in this case MATLAB, will do an excellent job carrying it out. Of the command, that is. Does that make sense? So it's really important that we have these commands perfect. And what I mean by perfect is because MATLAB is stupid, it's just a computer, if one thing is out of place, it could read it wrong and it just won't work. So it's important that we have these apostrophes, these brackets, these commas. They all need to be just right. Everybody on board with the idea? Okay, so what I'd like to do now is let's just save this for now, just so we don't lose all of our freaking work. Okay, so let's hit the save button and type a name for this script. Let's say we'll call it pre-processing, and let's add our subject numbers 1 underscore, or no, it's not 1, it's actually 5 through 17. 5 through 17. Reasonable enough name, right? Okay. Now at least we have this saved, yes.
Did you save it as? What was the name of the save file?
It is pre-processing 5 underscore 17.
Right.
Because it's subjects 5 through 17. That's the logic we use. The thing to note as we do more and more coding and stuff is please do not commit computer suicide on yourself and give yourself a living hell of using horrible file names. What I mean by horrible file names are ones that don't make sense, that you're not going to be able to come back to next week when you've already forgotten all this crap and go, what the heck was this file about? You want it to be intuitive and tell you what it does. Yes, ma'am?
My file doesn't have the last two commands, well, the GUI and it's still okay, right?
It doesn't have what?
On line 18, at the very end of your line 18, with just GUI and alt, mine doesn't have it, but it's okay, right?
Type it in then.
Okay.
Yes.
So next time when we come in and we just want to change like our subjects, are we able to just copy the basics and just change the numbers with it?
If these are the commands that you want to do.
Are
Yes,
these
but
the basic commands that we usually do?
these are the basic ones, yes, but you don't have any more subjects after 17, do you? So here's the thing, we're going to do it all right now, and you won't have to do it yet. And you didn't have to do all of them by hand either. So, are you guys good? Are you guys on board?
Yeah.
Okay, let us know if there's if something's not working, and we'll wait up and make sure that we catch up. So here's a really important reason why this is useful, as opposed to doing this by hand. Okay. Remember we said computers are stupid? Humans are stupid too. We make mistakes. So we could have done all this by hand, each subject, but we make mistakes. Manual processes are ripe for error. Because computers don't make mistakes, they do just what we tell them to do, and if what we tell them to do is correct, we can run this for all of our subjects and know that every single one was done exactly the same, without an accidental mistake. So a really big advantage to programming and coding in doing these for loops, because it prevents the mistakes that are very easy to happen when we have manual processes. Make sense? Okay, so let's freaking do it. So what we're going to do, let us actually, at the bottom here, why don't we just type clear all, just for fun, and we can do CLC again, just so that it clears out all of our variables in workspace and restarts for a new subject. Yes, ma'am?
There's a parenthesis, I think, after off on line 18.
Yeah?
Where does it start?
It starts right here. Okay, so save it again. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to run this in just a minute, and you can see it, and we'll just lay back and drink margaritas and smoke cigars. But what I want to do is I want to orient you to look to see what's happening. Okay, so first, why don't we? Let's just clean up our current folder a little bit. So you can right-click and create new folder, and I'll name it Old Stuff. And in Old Stuff, I'm going to put all of our 3 named files from last class and just move it in there. And that'll think for a little bit. Okay? And let's see here. What I'm also going to do...
Dr. Addante,
yes.
asking if we should add this to our path.
Just say no for now. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to clear all in my workspace, GCLC, which basically closes EEG lab for now, and this will make it possible for me to also move the 4 titled files that we just did. We'll put that in my old stuff too. Okay. Now I think I have this wacky named file here. I named it wacky so I know I can delete it because it's crap. So we say yes there. Okay, so now I just have our structural support files in here. And the reason I did that is because now we have our folder, okay? And when we run our script, we're going to see it populate all of the files that we tell it to create. So we can see it working.
Did you just delete that bottom wacky one you said?
If it's like gobbledygook, then I
just delete that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my code to myself. If I name it like something total garbage, then I know it's total garbage. Yeah. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come back to the editor. Okay. Now I'm going to do 1 or 2 smaller things too. Little things before we run this. Now we named this 5 through 17, but we know that we have 3 and 4 in there. So let's just back it up, delete the 5 and replace it with a 3. So we might as well just do it for everyone, right? This way we stick with our conceptual basis that coding will keep everything the same for everyone, right? This way we have no dispute that number 3 and number 4 was done by hand. Maybe there was a little error, we did something wrong. We know everything will be done the same for everyone. Does everybody have a script that looks like this? All right. Let's light this sucker. All right. So what we're going to do is you can do a couple things. I'll save it, but you want to do basically you can come to this run button and you can do run preprocessing 7. Okay. And what we can see is that it starts to run this. And now it's load. Oh, I had an error. This is good. Let's see where it was. SPR. What the heck is that?
I got the same thing.
Of course you did. You should. That means we have it exactly the same. So let's figure out where we can troubleshoot this. What the heck is SPR? Seg. Channels. And then we're going to come to who? Oh, well, we'll split this up just a little bit then. So let's do what we were doing there. All right. So what I did was we switched a couple things around here, and here's what we'll look at. Okay, when we add these commands, we switched it around just a little bit. Okay, so we used to have this command. Now notice I use this comment sign to basically clear it out so the computer won't run this. So I grabbed another command which is basically roughly the same thing, pop biosig. Okay, we input our same information. Okay, now what it's doing here is first it's actually just reading the channels in, all 1 through 40. But then what it'll do is it'll do another step to just re-reference them to 33 and 34 as a separate step. Okay, well, so we'll see if that works. Okay, why don't I try it first, and if it works, then you guys can dial it in. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. No dice. This is part of coding. And let's see how that didn't work. Well, let's take a look. Well, so let's just do BDF. Ah, you know why that didn't work? There's not a 3 BDF. No, I gotta put the file in there. Remember it says computers are not stupid? Who's the stupid one? Right? It does exactly what we tell it to do, right? Like, it's like Forrest Gump in the army. You guys remember the scene in Forrest Gump where he's like, Gump, why did you join the army? He said, or what are you here to do? He said, exactly what you tell me to do. Yeah. Right? That is exactly what is happening. So what we can do, let's come back here to our folder and old stuff. I grab number 3. I will copy that, come back here to our BDF file, paste that sucker in. Okay, now notice what I did here when I was troubleshooting it. This is a really good example. Okay, so I got a message that something was royally effed in this line. Right? How do we troubleshoot it? I said, all right, let's replace it with something that I know works. And then that screwed up too. I did not delete this line. I commented it out. So now, what I can do is I can comment these out. I'll delete these because I don't need these anymore. Let's go back to what I started with, and I can just delete this percentage sign, and we'll be back on board. Did you guys see how the strategy, how that's working? Okay.
I found the 3 PDF files, but how do I do it?
Control C, right, copy paste. Yeah, yes sir.
On the run button, I don't have run process 7. It just says run and type code to run.
That's okay. We'll sort this out. So I will delete this. See how now I deleted the comment sign of the, and you can right click to comment that. Now that's here. Now you can highlight all, and you can go evaluate selection. Yes, I will be right there. Ah, it's working! It's working! It says it's reading data in BDF. Yes, yes, yes! Okay.
Okay, so you basically you said you did
No.
This is what I had originally. I got the area message.
That's it's because of the file you just ripped. You got the
area.
area. Yeah. Everything's good.
Okay, cool.
It's not.
Sweet. What area message?
Need for the space up.
There's also like a 1
No, you're good.
you're sitting here for like 3 hours, just or say
Yeah, for once, yeah.
Yeah, so it should work. You should see it. It'll take. Remember? So you remember when we did this by hand? So first of all, you said you were asking me about like what do I need to change, and I said the out thing because the error was on our part. We didn't actually have a file that was looking for it. It's like again, I was being a bad boss. I was telling my employee, I said, "Go get me number 3." It's like, what the? It's like seriously, it's like I've already pulled over. I can't pull over more. Right? So the computer like freaks out and gives you the red error message. And you're like, I want number 3. It's like, what? There is no. So the reason I said this, that's it. You need to change things. This is why we do this here. Because you did by hand first, which I know we know commands or exactly what we want to happen. We did it first. All we did is comment right in. So no commands are correct. And we know it works. We saw it. Yeah. We're just so yeah, you get a message now on the way. That's okay though. It's okay. Huh?
I got another error message, but it's still error.
Sorry?
I got a different error message.
Did you put number 3 in your folder?
You didn't even do it. Just take that number 3 and drop it in that folder. Oh.
Yeah.
No, immediately. Is everybody in like coding happy line?
So he like put it like
Actually, no, I highly recommend it. Maybe it was supposed to like see it. I have read this for the dog.
yeah. I skimmed through it.
Oh, no, that's
Yeah, I probably have to go over it.
Maybe latencies are shorter.
whole point of this for everything we did that we said does that for all of them. And so all the ones that all the ones we got. So I would say that you're all
So you can see in the side workspace, or the side, you should see those files being populated. You guys see it populating? So if I come here, yeah, you have to go. Well, it's going to take a little bit of time because it's actually thinking in its own, because it takes time to load it in. It will, yeah, eventually. It'll just take a little bit of time to work. How you guys doing over here? Is that back on board? Working for you guys? That's just going to run it off as you said. Run this session. Maybe it is.
Yeah, exactly. And plus for that class, like, it's tests were either the day before or the day after. And I was like, this is selective every time.
Did you copy what somebody else was saying? It's like I was telling you to look through number 3 and 3 wasn't there. So, remember I said computers are spamming? They do exactly what we tell them to do. Sometimes you just tell them to do things they can't do.
There's a reason why he gives you information. Now, he makes sure that you understand. So far, I like our just be careful with processing.
Okay, so hopefully this stuff is working for you, and it should take us some time to think in the background. Okay, so what I'd like for you guys to do is come back to our folder on the desktop. So this is our EEG folder, right? You guys see what I got here? So your EEG on the desktop. Now everybody downloaded, remember we extracted this folder, basic EEG files? Yeah? Is it working for you? You guys got it?
We're working on it.
All right, well, let that work in the background, and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. So we have that folder. Let's click in it and open up and take a look at what those files look like. All right, we got a lot of stuff in here. Okay, so this comes all the way down to 93 subjects. Yes, sir.
I always have 8, 9, 82 through 93.
Yeah.
Huh?
Like, you know how you have all those subjects?
Yeah.
I always have 8, 9, and then 82 to 93. Should I read that one?
Later.
Okay.
For now, that'll be okay.
Alright.
All right. So I've got a bunch of subjects. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Do you guys have all of them? Yeah, okay. So it might have been a re-download issue. But let's talk about the ones that we do have. All right. Now remember we said that EEG Lab gives us 2 files for each subject, right? There's basically a big file and a small file. So for example, let's talk about subject 12 right here. 1, 2, and 1, 2. Come all the way out here to our file size. Okay. We see a very large file and then a very small file. Okay. And they both have the same name. They just have a different file extension. So you have an FDT and a set. Make sense? Okay. So our small file is basically what we might call like a header file. That is a file which basically contains like the names and some of the basic file information about the file, but not the real data. The real data is in the large size one, the FDT. Okay, so just some information about understanding our structural organization here. Okay, we have all these files. They're numbered 1 through whatever numbers you have. And remember that indicates which subject number, which person of the experiment the data is representing. We have a lot of people, so we have a lot of files. And then we have 2 files per person, so that makes an extra large amount of files. So let's take a look at our number 12 person here. What this does is, if you'll notice, remember I said to use really sort of intelligent naming features so that you can revisit this. So I did this back November 1st, 2015. Quite some time ago. I haven't touched this stuff since then. So I forgot whatever the heck was done, right? But I know exactly what was done because we've labeled it in the same way that we practice labeling your files. So subject 12 was re-referenced to the average of the mastoids. Okay, so re-ref to mastoid. Then we also know that there's a 0.1 hertz high pass filter applied, just like we've done in class. And then we know that it was downsampled to 256 hertz because it says 256 hertz. Okay, so we know that this was done for every single subject. It looks identical because I used a script that looked just like yours to just crush it through. And then I went and I had a margarita. Make sense? Okay, so this is the output. This is kind of the end game of what your script is going to give you, because these are the same steps we did, right? Yeah? Okay. So what do we do from here? Let's work on a couple steps. So presumably you have MATLAB frozen up and cooking and thinking in the background. Is that correct? Yeah? Mine says busy down here. It's got a lot on its mind. What I'm going to do is hover over this icon down here, and I'm going to right click. Let's see here. And what I'm going to do is, see how I hover down here? I'm going to right click. I'm going to open up a second version of MATLAB. So we're going to open up a fresh one. We're not going to close the other one. We're going to let it think in the background. You can open two versions of MATLAB at the same time. It's like having two browsers open in your internet or something. God bless you. All right. So I'm going to open up a second version of MATLAB, and this is going to free us up to keep working. Okay. And so it might take a little moment or two to open up, but it should come up on board. And if not, I can do it this way too. Yeah, see, so it's already opening. You can see it start to come up here. So I hope this stuff is actually like making sense of us. We're actually making a lot of progress. And I know it's a lot of computer stuff, but it sets the foundation for all the stuff we're going to do working with the data, actually. So, yeah. And as this, well, it's already opening. Just make sure it's useful to write down the steps that we're doing, write down some of the notes of the key points that we've made about why it's useful to code instead of work in manual processes, and some of the structures we talked about with the 1020 system, the organization, the coordinate system. All this kind of stuff is really, really useful to know, because I'm just going to refer to electrode P3 in the future, and I'm just going to assume that you know that that means left parietal, stuff like that. Okay, so we have a new instance of MATLAB open here, and let's see. I like to maximize this just so I don't confuse it with the one that's cooking in the background. You know what I mean? And I'll do all my normal stuff. We reset our paths, and okay, close. Okay. So I'm all set up here. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. So when I set my path and add acceptables, it doesn't highlight all these folders. It doesn't actually highlight everything, but everything's been.
I would let sleeping dogs lie then. You know what that means, to let sleeping dogs lie? So think of like some big slobbering junkyard dog that's like a guard dog for a junkyard. It's like, right? They're going to attack somebody coming in, and you're trying to sneak past, and it's gently sleeping. You just kind of want to like just keep moving along. Don't wake it up. If everything's working, I would just let it keep going. As soon as there's a problem, we will absolutely address it and we will take care of it. If it's working, then I would just let that sleeping dog lie. Okay. All right. So let's open up EEG Lab again, and we can take a look at some next steps that are going to happen. So I've already given you all this data that's already in the stage of the data that we wrote that script for. But I wanted us to learn how to start writing scripts. I wanted us to learn some of the key coding language, such as for loops, and what num to string means. okay, and how to concatenate with brackets and the little apostrophes. All right, I wanted us to get some practice with that to understand how that happens and understand the structural aspects of why that's important and really useful to processing a lot of data at once. So we talked about the idea of getting hired to work in a job or a lab to analyze data or something, right? If you're getting paid, you sure would be like to be able to get paid for writing one script, press run, and then go have a beer for lunch and have it be like, well, what are you doing? You're like, I don't know, it's working. It's working. And I got, you know, just watching it work. Right? Rather than sitting there instead of going to lunch, you're during lunch working by manual, doing this repeatedly for every subject. So now you have that script, you know what it was that got us to be able to work with this data that I've already given you. All right, so now let's load up a set of data. So you go File, Load Existing Data, and we will go to our basic EEG files, which is what we downloaded today. All right, and so we're going to grab one of these. Let's just start like Drake at the bottom with the lowest number, 3. Okay, that's where Drake started. Don't you know? You didn't know that? So Drake started at the bottom, and I mean he's here now. It's a coding class. You gotta have some fun somewhere. So, yes, ma'am. You know, take whatever subject you want out of that folder. I know if you don't have the same subject numbers, just snag one of them. All right, so now it'll load up our data, and you'll see that we have a data set now available here. It gives us our channels. We only have one epoch, so we need to do some of those processes that we talked about last class. All right, remember I said at the end of class, I said we're going to cover all this stuff, but I said we'll get to it next class too. That's what we're going to revisit now, okay? We're going to talk about epoching and creating an events list. So first, what we want to do is, remember we started off talking about all of our events that we introduced? Are you guys good back there? You guys have it? No? Okay, what can we do to help? Okay, Ariel will help you out. So, remember we have our events. There's 75 different events, right? Could be 61, 62, 63, right? And then it goes 1 through 5, and again 1 through 5. Okay? This gives us all the possible combinations, give us essentially 1 down to 75 possible combinations of code, of our event codes. Remember, the event codes are essential because they're what we're going to time lock our EEG events to and slice up the data based upon, and they're what tells us what is the conscious process that happened during this time. Okay, so it's really important, and we want to be able to slice it and look at all these different ways. So what we're going to do first is we are going to go to EEG Lab. We are going to go to Events List. We're going to do Create Events List. All right, so this stuff is all really intuitive. If you're asking yourself, oh, what did you do? How did he get here? Ask yourself, well, what's the goal? Well, the goal is to create an events list. So you might as well go to the field that says Event List and then select the option that says Create One. Okay? So I hit that button, and it's going to ask me some questions. Something will come up here in a minute. Okay. Now what I want to do in this GUI, okay, is I'm going to hit the button in the middle here that says Advanced. So hit that one that says Advanced, and it's going to bring up something. In a minute. It should.
I'm sorry, what did you advanced.
Yes. All right, so everybody see something like this? Does anybody not see something like this? Whoa, nobody. You guys don't see something like this? Why are you using PDF files?
The basic EEG file. Yeah.
That's okay.
Oh.
It says new line. Is that correct?
Yes.
Here's what you're going to do. It's empty, right? Think of our structure that we just introduced. We have 1 through 75 possible codes, and we know that our codes can be any combination. So we can start by starting with 61, right? Now, what's the first combination that can happen to 61? 1, 1. What's the next one? 1, 3. What's the next one? 61. And the next? Okay, everybody gets the idea. This goes all the way down to 75 possible combinations. Now, what we're going to look at here, so first of all, if you needed to go to a job and start just building this and typing it, somebody asked me at the end of the last class, are you going to show us how to build this and type this? So here's the answer, yes. Okay? You're going to start with your event code and type in 6111. Okay? Then it's going to ask you to give an event label. Okay? Now 61, I think, is animacy condition. So you might start by, so the first thing that we're going to do is give it a, so this is our code. It's going to ask us a label. Can everybody read what I'm writing here? Okay. Label, let's say it's AN for N. And then our item judgment, we're just going to put the number 1. So we know that they made a 1. And then for our third digit, that's why it was important. We tested it this morning on the quiz and we talked about it in introduction. Our third digit for source memory, for a 1, it means they got the source correct, but with with high confidence, right? Yes. So you can't see them. We'll get there. So we're going to type SC for source correct. Okay, and put an H there for high confidence. So this is like writing a code for a puzzle or something like that. Okay. So now we have a label that goes with this code. Right? Because you don't want to have to memorize what each of these 4-digit wacky numbers are. Right? That would suck to spend the semester going home and trying to memorize these things and all that. It can be for one of the sources, but what if it's for the other source? So we have our source memory here for dog. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we said this is from animacy. This could be from man-made.
Oh, I see.
So what if this was from the man-made condition? And what would be the correct high-confidence source job? Okay, but what if instead it was actually from the animacy condition? Ah, yeah, you see how it goes? Okay. Good, great question. You're thinking about it perfectly correct. So then what it's going to ask, so we give it this, and we give it that. That's our event label. Then it's going to ask us to start slicing this into bins. Remember we talked about like sorting socks and bins? Different color socks you put in different bins if you're doing the laundry and things like that. That's the idea with bins here with ERPs and EEG. And they're critical because that's what's going to allow us to categorize these different cognitive experiences. So we want to start creating bins. Now we're going to have a bin for every single one of our 75 conditions. Because they all mean something different. And of course we're going to create one of those bins and then we have to give it a name. So we have to give it a label too. So for our bin, we're just going to keep it bin number, and we're just going to keep it simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way down. Okay? So for your bin number, just type numero uno. You want to give it a bin description. Okay? But for bin description, let's just keep it the same as the condition label. Let's just type the same thing. AN1SL SCH. And hit the right top green button. Maybe? No. Let's say. Maybe? Yeah.
It's just curtains.
Yeah, try hitting that. Oh, wait, you have all these.
Yeah,
Where's somebody who hasn't done this? Okay. So you wrote all those in? Oh, hit the button for update line. Sorry. Mine's not highlighted because I already have it. Is everybody on board?
So we do this whenever our bin is clear. Like
If you want to build an events list, this is one way to do
how
it.
you do it? Okay.
Yes. Now, what you can also do is import an events list that you write instead of going through this manual process every single time with buttons and clicks, which is really nice and helpful to learn and start with. Eventually, you get bored out of your mind, and it also leads the way to mistakes. You can also write it in a text file or an Excel file and save it as text so that it automates it a little clearly. And that's what this is here. Okay, so you can do that if you need to. If you hired in a lab and you need to make an events list, this is how you build it, one by one. And then you go through each time down, and you change whatever you need to change, and you set your structure for how we'll work with the data. But since I've already done this for you, why don't you come down here and go open list, whatever, load list, and navigate to the file that says Advanced Events List. Everybody have that? Yes.
This is just for the very first one on that list.
No, I would just, it'll probably clear out the first one. I would just load your list down here.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Val?
I was within the end. So event code 6111, event label AN1SCH.
Yeah.
Bin number 1 and bin description.
Yeah, that's fine for now. So I said that as an example, but we're just going to load a list that's already pre-written. Yep. Bottom left, hit the button for load list. And it's going to ask you to load an events list, right? And I've written one for you. So just snag the one that says Advanced Events List. Does everybody see that file? Does it come up like this for everyone? Is anybody not here? We can move forward? Yeah? Okay, so just hit that and just hit apply. Okay, so we get this little GUI that pops up. It asks us a question. So what it's asking us is, how do you want to have the event code information shown into the structure of the data? Okay, so we can either label it with code labels or bin labels or these things. I'm going to hit numeric codes. Okay, so just do that for numeric codes and hit apply.
I never had that one pop up.
I'm sorry?
I went straight to this one.
So,
You modify line number 2. Do you want to go back and update or continue and do not update?
Yeah. So, just like we normally do, I'm going to highlight this name and I'm going to save it. Okay? Check the box, paste it in here, and what we have here is it tells us this is an event list, e-list. Okay? Now what we can do, okay, is it saves it there like that. And one thing we can do is come in here and type in EEGH again. And it'll show us what we did. So we opened EEG Lab. We loaded the data set. It asked us what file name. We tell it the file name we want. It asks us where does it live. We give it the directory. Okay, so that was just we loaded in the data. Duh. Then we edit event list. We used basically, and we saved it with this file name. So you can always copy those lines and paste them into your running script. So, that's one thing you could do. So let's take a look now at what that looks like. Okay. Big. Yeah.
Where you have the file name, will there always be a comma right afterwards and then the name of the file?
In the script?
Yeah, in the script.
Probably. Let me see your script so I know exactly what you're asking. Yeah, that's just basic. All right, let's take a closer look again. Now we have our event list. So what we did is we took our long-running EEG, and every now and then it has events like that, right? That might say 6111, 6324, 6547, and it has all those features in it. Okay. Now what we can do is now we want to slice up the data into epochs. Okay. So we can come and do extract bin-based epochs. Actually, what we should do is take a look. Let me just look at something real quick here. Yes. So you guys remember last week we talked about these rating events 1 through 5? Oh, I just came and went to edit, and I did select data using events, and then I can click this here and it shows me the different events in this subject's data. So remember we talked about we want to get rid of the ones 1 through 5? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my editor. Okay, I'm going to grab the script. You can open the script that I have already given you. It's called preprocessing _ Addante. It should have been downloaded with your thing. You guys should be able to snag that. And there's a line of code in here that I want to grab.
Where's that pre-processing one?
It should just be in your main folder. It should have been downloaded from Box, I'm assuming. Yeah? Should look like that. You guys have it? Yeah.
After you select data using events and this other food comes up.
Oh, just cancel out. I was just showing you something.
Oh, you're just
Yeah. So what you're going to do is you're going to open that script and you're going to copy line number 86. All the way in 86. You're going to create a new one here, paste that in, and we're going to uncomment it. Yes, ma'am. Let it go. Let it go. Okay, yeah. That happens. We asked it to do a big task. One thing you can do is clear out the other MATLAB. So,
So you're still working in the second one that we opened?
Did it take a while to open it?
yeah, so what you can do is basically the best thing to do is actually just kill the other MATLAB that we started with. Just kill it, because we have all this data already. You can kill it. With pleasure. Beat it. It's senseless.
What about the should we save changes?
Sure. It's always good to save changes. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So, everybody good?
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Just close the old MATLAB. Okay, can I have everybody's attention for a minute? I just want to bring everybody on the same page. Can I have Ariel? Everybody just pay attention to this for a minute. The original window of MATLAB that you had open, that we ran that big script on, okay? Just kill it. Just close it. If they ask you to save something, then say sure. Why can we do that? Because we've used I've given you the output of that data. That's what we're looking at in the folders that we downloaded today. Okay, and we use that practice today to understand how to write scripts, to understand the structure of what we do to the data to import it and get it ready to work with. But because it's taking so flipping long for it to run, we can move forward from it and we can afford to kill that process because we have it ready to get on the back end. Everybody on board with the conceptual idea here? Yes. So, we should have our second window of MATLAB open though, right? And we've opened up our script to come in here and find line 86. Yes? Let's open it and grab 86. Yeah? That's okay. Okay, so when I copy this, right, I can come in to a brand new editor and I can paste it in. Now, if you right click, it says uncomment, Control T, and it takes away that green color that is indicated by the percentage sign. So it's a handy little trick. You got it? Okay. Now what this is saying we're going to select these events within the EEG that are numbers 1 through 5. Those are all of our button presses. You don't care about the button presses. Okay? And it's going to say we're just going to delete those. Delete these events. Okay? And I'm just going to copy that, and we can put that directly in our main MATLAB window that we're working in, okay, which is here. And I paste that in and just hit enter, and it runs. So now, if I grab this window, okay, and I come back to edit, select data using events, which is what we looked at before, and I click this option, see how the 1s and the 5s went away?
Yes.
That's what we did. Okay? So I would save that in your running list. Now what we can do, okay, is come back here, and you can even type EGH again. It'll show you again what we did in importing that events list. You can put that into your script so that you remember what we did, and then you could paste that line that we just did underneath it to add it to your script. Yes, ma'am.
So, how did we save that?
We didn't save it. Not yet. So what I did, let's see here. If we come back to our processing steps, okay, so we did this, but in between selecting our events, right, we came here and we did this, right? So we did our events list. Oh, so here's a trick, a nice little handy thing. You see how this drags out all the way to the side over here? If you come somewhere and type ... enter, it keeps the line and it just goes beneath it. So, learning handy little tricks. Okie doke. Yeah? Alright, I like to save it just so we keep on board with where we're at. Okay? And you can always use these comment sides to remind yourself what we did for each of these steps and what it's doing. Okay? Yes.
Are you editing the loop?
I'm not editing the loop. This is within the loop. I'm adding more steps to it. Okay? So one thing that we might need to do is you're going to have to update this number to add that num2 string aspect to it. Just like we did with the brackets. You're going to have to add the bracket and the num2 string. Okay? So that's one thing that we can do here. I'll just take this, open bracket, add the word subj, space, delete the 3, make it an underscore actually because MATLAB doesn't like to read spaces, and close the bracket at the end, just like that. Okay, now it also has the part in here about deleting our events, and now what we can do is come back to our GUI, and we can come and we can extract bin-based epochs. Okay, so here we'll keep it, let's say, to, I don't know, let's do -500 to 1500, and you just hit run. And it adds BE to our suffix, so that's bin epoch. We copy that and we save it just like we've been practicing. Okay. And now what we can do is we can come back to our MATLAB window and type EEGH again, and we'll get the little output for bin epoching. We can add that to our script, which is actually, the script is your notes for what we studied today, which I recommend studying for when you come back so we know the steps that we took.
What were we supposed to do in that extract bin epoch?
That's, you just go to,
Just run.
yeah, yes, so I'm going to come here. Yes.
What was the range for the bin epoch?
I just did -500 to 1500. We'll talk about that in more detail as we move next class. Yes.
So where do I find the extract bin epoch?
That's going to be ERP Lab, extract bin-based epoch. Ladies good? You guys all on board?
I need some more time.
Okay.
I'm behind.
That's okay.
Wait, which one did you get? Your bot or your lab?
This is ERP Lab. Okay. So now that we have our epochs, we can plot the channel, scroll through it, and we see these different epochs. We talked about this a little bit last class, so hopefully this will bring us back to where we were. Yeah?
And what was your range again? Sorry?
I did -500 to whatever. So here's some noise, huh? -500 to about 1500.
I'm still working on the script thing.
Okay. After that, well, you don't want to run all that, right? That's too old. Just right click or cancel out that. Just right click. Reevaluate selection. And that should run. And then you would apply the events list, or then you would. Okay. So that kind of wraps us up for today. We covered a lot of stuff. Okay. I will post on eLearning my copy of this script. Okay. So you can practice it. This is one of the reasons why I suggested getting MATLAB or working if you want it from home. So you can work with these scripts. You can import the data at home on your laptop. You can put it down there from the box.com thing. You can practice working with some of this stuff. You can practice writing some of the code, trying it out, troubleshooting the errors. And I'll post my script from this. And you can work with it a little bit if you want. Check it out. One thing you could do is take my script and then practice commenting out what is done at each step. I would remind you guys to be aware of the International 1020 system. Know some of these aspects of how we built the events list. How all this stuff works in that capacity. Other questions about what we've covered then for the day? I know we covered a lot. You guys did a really good job keeping up. I'm really impressed. And we will move forward. Oh, you know what? This is a really important thing. What I'm going to add, how about this? You can have an optional quiz next class. How do you guys feel about that?
I like that. For what?
Now she's talking. Optional for what? Yeah, that's like, yeah. Optional for what? You can choose to take the quiz next class, or I should say, you can be compelled to take the quiz next class. That would be delighted to make for you. Or you can buy your way out. Now, I'm not a person who cares very much about money, or I wouldn't be in this job. And so, unfortunately, all but the richest of you could not buy your way out with money for this class. However, here's how you can buy your way out. Write up a methods section that begins to describe what you've done with the data to this point. Okay? It's a practice session. It's a practice method section. It doesn't have to be Shakespearean. You know, what it should be able to do, read up on what is in a method section in the APA manual, chapter 2. See the examples they give, I believe in the later chapters with a sample writing. And all you have to do is you can even write, actually, here, yes, this is part of the purchase price. Write up a brief little intro of just a paragraph, which is like literally a couple of sentences, explaining a little bit about memory, recollection, familiarity, confidence ratings, source memory judgments, right? So just a little bit, basically reiterate what we talked about, and then begin to write a method section that introduces the subjects that we used, healthy college-age people, and the steps of how we analyze the EEG data. Okay? It doesn't have to be pristine, but show me an effort. Okay? It should not overlap with anybody else's in class. I should see independence in every single writing. And this would be a really good way to start practicing. And this is a big extra boost from what I had the students do last year, because they didn't practice this. We just had to write lab reports. So if you want to buy your way out of a quiz, come with that stuff together. Like I said, I'm not trying to bust anybody's butt on this. It's a good practice opportunity. Yes?
What do you mean by the steps we use to analyze the ERP? So like what we do like in MATLAB?
Everything that we've done right now to process the data through.
Okay.
It should not be written out in a numbered format, like in a cookbook, but it should be written in text, like in the APA manual, chapter 2 and the other chapters. And you can also look at how I wrote it in my papers on this data, which are posted on eLearning. So, like, little hint, see what the professor already wrote about it. Right? But do that. Practice writing, and you'll see that I didn't write step by step like this of all these, because I wasn't practicing to buy my way out of the quiz. Practice writing everything we've done till now, and a good way to key yourself into that to start is to write yourself some notes on the comments of what was done in each of these steps, because that will become the skeleton for your methods that you will see. Okay? So, I think it's, do you guys think that's a pretty fair deal for a buyout? Okay, cool. Let's do it. See you guys later. Yes, ma'am.
Could I get
Well, I don't know what you did.
Well, I think I've already done. If you do this, then I want to do this. Twice. So it makes sense if I find it. I guess I just look down and that's one step.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just basically sort out next class. This is why I suggested getting the equipment to work on at home.
Well, that's what I want to know, so I can go home and do exactly what we did today and do.
Yeah, so I would do that, practice, and then use that as a chance to write a practice little section about it. And I'll post a video from the class and the audio recording and stuff. But that's not going to tell you anything really all that different from what is in the script. It's just the script can be read in 10 seconds, and the video you'll have to listen to for 3 hours.
Oh, well, that's fine.
So-
So I guess I just don't know what every word, so I use
Yeah.
copy paste. It shouldn't be.
Yeah, usually it's like learn to keep it, so don't sweat it. The easiest stuff, I mean, all that stuff, it's not worth reading it, just clear it out and stuff. Sometimes.
So it's an opportunity to read it.
No problem.
Thank you.
Oh, hey man.
You were talking about there was a difference between recollection and familiarity, and I understand that familiarity is graded that, there's certain degrees of how familiar you are, and recollection is that I remember it, like, for sure. Or
Yeah, so you get into some pretty wonky cognitive psychology issues on this one. There's people who have battle royales, scientific death matches to this, because there's people who really model memory such that recollection is a clear threshold and it's all or nothing. You're a recollector, you don't, and it's not graded. And some are theoretically, and other people say, well, it is a graded process and this and that. So you can get in some murky water sometimes, depending on how deep you want to get into it. But at a basic level, for the purposes of this class, we can think about it as we represented it earlier, which is familiarity is thought to be a monotonically sort of graded process to which you can have varying degrees of, and recollection is sort of exceeding a threshold such that it's a separate, distinct signal, and in order to recollect that threshold, be it computational connections or some threshold of information acquisition, has to be exceeded.
okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no
And,
problem.
are you gonna post like the rubric for the buyout? Because you mentioned several things that you wanted on it, like So
Well, I'll post a video for class, and you can just hear what I said about it.
okay.
Does that sound fair?
That's thank you very much.
I graded everything.
How'd it go?
It went well.
Okay.
I hid, so it automatically, once you grade it, it automatically goes into the grade center. So I hid that column from them.
Okay.
So if you want to look at it.
Did they do okay?
Yep, they did well. Oh, I still have to email you Thomas's because it's on paper.
That's okay. But I mean, you can just.
Can I email it to you, or is that against the policy, the grading, no emailing grades policy?
I don't know. Might as well just hold on to it.
Okay,
and,
I'll just when he's enrolled, I'll put it in an e-learning.
Yeah, we'll sort that out.
Okay.
And it's an easy thing to sort out.
Okay.
So we will do that, and we will. Let me just think my way through this for a second. But like, it was intuitive to grade. It just went through, and it was just open. It just open-ended. It just let you assign points.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it wasn't 2 points per piece, right? Because
No,
there's
it was
different points.
yeah.
Okay.
And that's yeah.
Which is good. Which is fine too.
So
It was easy. It was really easy.
cool.
So cool.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yes,
I
sir.
have one more question. Are these the only computers that have MATLAB on them, or in the library as well?
I don't know if the library does. I doubt that it does. I do know that there's other computer labs on campus that do. I don't know which ones they are.
Okay. All right.
That's why I recommend that people buy their own copy.
All right. Thank you.
Yes. I do. Yeah, just give me a second. Do you have a question too?
Yeah, regarding the steps.
Okay, I'll get it. Let me just shut a couple things down here, and